Welcome, welcome, welcome. How you doing, everybody? So I'm going to jump right on in today with no music. We're going to have just a little story time for those of you who are joining for the very first time. I am LaTonia Taylor, affectionately known as the RevCoach, the Juicy Spirit Mama, the priestess of purpose, pleasure, passion, and profits. And I love turning blind spots into breakthrough in the marketplace, in media, and metaphysically, honey. So today we're going to dive into our feminine abundance series that we've been doing pretty much all year. And in the last 5 weeks, I'd say we've been specializing in archetypes and these contracts, contracts and agreements, the hidden contracts and agreements that we're operating in at any given time. I'm going to make sure I turn on the comments. I want to go into a story time, y'all, because this is important for us as to have some context around this discussion that we've been having lately, right? And I want to, let me see, how do I do it? I want to make sure that those of you who are joining for the very first time, you understand that we started off talking about these sacred, or excuse me, these contracts. We're going to, in the workshop, we're going to get into the sacred ones, but we started out looking at the secret ones, the hidden unconscious contracts that we are operating in. In the last couple of weeks, we've been looking at these archetypes and how all of us move in and out of them. We call them by name. Sometimes they are more stereotypes than they are archetypes. And today I want to come in and share a little story with you. If you are in the community, in the tribe, hey, what's up, sis? So good to see you. In fact, I missed you last week. So yeah, when you come in from the community, because I am broadcasting on my Facebook page and not just in the tribe today, and also on YouTube. Now, you all know that on Facebook, this live probably will not stay up on Facebook. I encourage you to subscribe to my YouTube channel, Rebirth with LaTonia or Rebirth by LaTonia. Either one, I should come up in the search. So let me just share a little story time with you, and tag some people in the comments that you know and like and love to join us. Facebook really has been playing with my algorithm. Usually when I go live, I have almost 90 something viewers, so I'm still trying to play with this thing. Hey, what's up, Kim? I'm still trying to play with this algorithm and stay in my own algorithm. And yes, I have a new haircut, fresh cut, fresh season. I have been waiting for months to do a fresh new haircut. But honey, listen, you might see me switch up, because when we're talking about this whole design and archetypes, one of the things I'm going to be doing is moving in and out of my archetypes and seeing where I land. You got to give your feminine permission to play. So some of you all do that well. It's no big deal. But listen, let me deal with story time, because today we're talking about goals, God, and growth, right? And sometimes those three things are compartmentalized. I want to just say, when I talk about God today, I'm talking about God in the context of your design, that you came here with a specific design, blueprint, imprint, and destiny. And sometimes life redirects us and influences how we move in that particular destiny. Sometimes choices and decisions affect how we respond to life. And then we can be on a path or on a journey or have a plan or have a desire, and then boom, life happens and redirects us. So when I say God, I'm just talking about in the context of your divine design, who you are, the workshop that I'm inviting you to come to. Because oftentimes we take God out of our goals and our growth, or we put so much God into the growth that we forget about the goals and say, oh, well, if it wasn't meant to happen, or I'm just going to let God show me. And the thing is, we're getting signs and clues all the time. So I want to show you through a story time really quickly from some coaching clients that I have. I have a client who came to me because for all intents and purposes, this client was very successful. Owned an entrepreneur who owned several businesses and jumped into a business that required her personality. It required her to come out of her shell. And quite frankly, it was quite painful for her to do that. And so when she came to me, she came to do the deeper work to try to understand why she had such a difficult time connecting with people. And it was hurting her business. It was hurting her relationships in her business because she was an introvert. So she thought, and shy. And sometimes that's a great example of life happening that shapes our personality. And then we fall into a particular archetype or a hidden contract and agreement that we've made with life. And so we did the work, we did the assessment, we got into what it was that really had influenced a lot of her personality. You with me? Put a 1 in the chat if you feeling me so far. So we were doing the work. She had aha moments, and her desire was really to connect. And again, for the most part, she came across to others as reserved. She came across to others as nonchalant, and some people even considered her cold. Whereas the truth of the matter is she really wasn't. She felt things very deeply, but she did not know how to express them outwardly. And so in her business, she was an introvert for the most part, because sometimes it's by habit that we become these people. Thank you for the ones. And so by habit, we become these people, right? And then we get stereotyped, right? And we even can stereotype ourselves, particularly when it comes to business. So she, for the most part, appears to be an introvert in an extroverted business. Now, she was wise enough to know, because she had been investing in all these formulas of other coaches and other business programs and all these accelerators and different things. And none of that was working for her. It was not working. She would get the clients in, but they wouldn't stay. She was excellent as an employee. This is one of the reasons why I'm so passionate about working with new entrepreneurs. She was an excellent employee who made good money and was used to making good money, lots of good money. So this was really rites of passage for this person, because here's a person who lived well, had no wants or needs. She already had a business in her family. Yet now this was something that she wanted to do for herself. Now you say, okay, well, what's the twist and the turn? So glad that you asked. She stopped doing the work. She didn't stop doing the work because she wanted to stop. Some people just quit. When you're used to running, when you're used to waiting, or you want microwave results, sometimes you just quit. If you're a coach, if you're a social worker, if you are a psychiatrist or a psychologist, you kind of know what I'm talking about. If you're a physical trainer, helping profession in any way, you know how it is when you work with someone and you can almost see the tendency of people who will quit. You can see the tendency of people who will be easily triggered when you challenge them. Come on now. I know I got some helping professionals that are in here. So it wasn't that in this case. Not consciously. We're doing a little wrap on these unconscious contracts and agreements that we have. It wasn't a conscious decision. So when we were talking, she hit a wall. And the wall was in her profits and her overhead. Y'all with me? And she couldn't continue to do the personal development. That often happens, that one of the first things we'll do is we'll give up the personal development because it's optional to some people instead of priority. Now, there are other communities who make personal development, executive coaching, executive alignment priority, and then other things get adjusted. But if your mindset hasn't been trained that way, if you have been in survival mode, you'll drop the thing that you think is alternative. Many of us, particularly melanated people, are conditioned to be ministered to. We want someone to inspire us, to make us feel good. We want to get a good shout. And then you go home and you're the same, because we've been conditioned that. And then I come back next week for another fix, whatever your denomination, whatever your affiliation. That's how we tend to handle the growth part, or the requirements of the goals, because there's some goals that you have based on your destiny, based off of your design, that's calling you to grow. You can't be the same person with this particular goal and just stay the same. You can't DIY it. You can't do the freebie. Myron Golden calls it the freeple, right? The sheeple and the freeple. So I'm not talking to the sheeple. The sheeple are the people who want to follow what everybody else is doing. That's comparing yourselves to everybody. You will move like sheep. If they're doing it, you want to do it. Your goals become their goals. I'm not talking to the sheeple. I'm not talking to the freeple, the people who only want to get it for free. I'm only coming to her lives. So she wasn't doing any of that. She made a great investment to do it privately. She did not work in groups. Some of you, by design, also don't work well in groups, but the group sometimes will get your juices flowing to see you need to do deeper work. Sometimes the group is the stretch. When you do group work, group coaching, group activities, workshops will pull you out of your comfort zone. So we were doing the work. She hit a wall. And we were having a conversation, because I care about people. Even when you don't pay me, sometimes when you just stop, I want to check in on you. I want to see how you're doing. And so we were talking, because she ended up having to extend her stay. And I've said this to another group of entrepreneurs just yesterday. If you were in that group of entrepreneurs, make sure you put in the comments, because I gave you all a 3-step method to check in on yourselves. And if you can remember that method, I'm going to give you a special code if you want to come into this workshop, Your Divine Design, how to discover your feminine leadership codes, your feminine leadership source codes. I'm going to give you something special if you can remember the 3 steps that I gave to you on yesterday. If you can just remember those 3 key words for the new entrepreneurs. But what I said to the new entrepreneurs is what I'll say some of today. Check this out. So we're having a conversation, and I say, you didn't ask for help when you ran into the wall. How many of you are guilty of that? I'm raising my hand. Say ouch or amen. Ouch or amen. Hey, what's up? Whoever, I can't see who that is, but what's up? What's up? How you doing? She said, I was trying to figure it out. And that's what I said to some of the entrepreneurs. That's not the 3 steps if you were in that group yesterday. But I said, instead of trying to figure it out, why didn't you figure it in? In other words, lean in, ask for help, ask for support, ask, how can I, instead of saying, I can't afford it, I can't do it. Lean in, lean in. Yeah. Okay. So and we've been programmed oftentimes by our mothers to do it ourselves, particularly women. You know, oftentimes in the South, there's a saying that says women will raise their girls and spoil their boys. So there's an expectation that many of us don't talk about, that Black women are going to be high performers. Get yourself in a position in your life where you don't have to ask anybody for anything. Boy, I used to hear that. I think I used to hear that several times throughout the year. Get your education so you don't have to ask anybody for anything. But then the times change, the seasons change. Yes. And now you can go to school, you can get your education. Many people are going off to get a master's degree, and it does not guarantee anything. And so now you have a new generation of people who are securing the bag, right? And so when you have that spirit of, I'm not asking, I'm gonna figure it out, I'm a DIY it, even though you have degrees, even though you have everything and you are accomplished, right? Come on, ouch or amen. If I'm still walking down your street, and this was her situation. And this is something that she said to me, and I want you all to hear this. She said, I didn't reach out to you because I couldn't pay you. And since that was a business transaction and I couldn't do the transaction, there was no relationship. Where's my thing? Where I need a clapper, I need something, I need a fan if you get that. Did you catch that? She came to me because she had a trouble connecting with people. It showed up in her money and in her business affairs because her design and her life experiences taught her that all relationships are transactional. So when you have a customer and you're in a business where people might be coming to you to feel good and you treat them like a transaction, what do you think is going to happen? What I want you to see today is the connection between or to connect the dots of how you compartmentalize your goals, the God in you, and growth. You compartmentalize and you put this thing over here and that thing down there and this thing, and you don't see that they're connected. And because of your design, oftentimes, and if you don't know your design, then you don't know how to market, how to message, how to set up your mission. And I'm speaking from experience as well. And particularly when you mature and you grow in your calling, in your contribution, and especially if you are an investor and you start to make, and I'm not talking about low-level investments. I'm talking about when you make it a practice. A lot of times, so let me go back. If you're not a tither, if you're not a giver, if you're stingy in your mindset, that's a mindset issue alone. Because oftentimes people who want something hold on and clutch to it, don't let it go. We do that with a mindset. I can't trust anybody. I'm not spending my money. Ain't nobody taking advantage of me. So you don't even have experience. You don't even have a reference point of making an investment in yourself, but you may have a business that has a price menu and you have never made that kind of investment in your life consistently. Whether it's your time, your money, or your ask. You got to put your ask on the line sometimes. Sometimes you have to ask for support. You got to put your ask on the line to interrupt your tendencies that life created. Because there are some people who will see the growth of someone else and say, I want that, and will do anything to get it. So that's not necessarily design. That can be a character issue. And there's some people who won't do anything to get it. You say you want it, but then what's standing in the way? It's not all the time just mindset. Mindset is a start. But when you understand that, when we talked about introvert, extrovert, ambivert, that is just the scratch of the surface. We haven't talked about creatives and empaths and energy workers and those who are artists by nature, by design. But because everything that has been handed to us through institution, traditional schooling, fits us into a box of you create a business plan. you create, you do this next, and you do that next. And then when you go and you do these things and it does not flow the same way for you, that is when mindset shows up. That's when the life, the imprints of life show up. And then you think, what am I doing wrong? Ever been there? I have. I have. This client thought that all relationships was transactional, so she fed into the perception, which your environment is always giving you feedback. The perception that she was getting from people was that she was cold, she was matter of fact, she was cut off, she didn't intend to be. But the feedback is feedback. See, feedback is neutral, but we personalize feedback, get an attitude with feedback, run from feedback. And our environment, our world is always giving us feedback. Somebody put feedback in the comments. You feel me? Your environment is always giving you feedback, but sometimes we can't receive feedback from everybody until we got to put our ask on the line. Sometimes we can't even hear the feedback when it's coming from God, but many of us will throw God in the mix quick, fast, and in a hurry. We'll talk God, we'll scream God, because we have a crisis management relationship when it comes to our goals or meeting the next steps. Oftentimes we've been conditioned this way to have a crisis management relationship when it's time to grow, when it's time to expand my territory. And you forget that you prayed the prayer of Jabez to expand my territory. Bless me indeed. Bless me. Huh? But when it's time to grow, we want to be ministered to. We want to be coddled. And so we'll quit too fast. Growth is the outcome of transformation. And you can't not grow when transformation comes, because transformation, trans means change the form of a thing. Trans means change. Form is the density, the matter. Something has to shift even in your life. So many of us only wait until we have an event that shifts us. And what I'm saying to you is, when you learn, and if this was taught, and when I say this, I'm not just saying this as an adult who has to make a choice and drop a grip. Although unfortunately, if we haven't been parented this way, if we haven't had alternative learning and only have been taught traditionally, we are learning things now in our 40s, 50s, and some of us 60s. Kudos to those of you who are in your 60s and still willing to learn and explore yourself. So all the business, all of her relationships were transactional. She went on to say, I don't have any real relationships in my life outside of my core circle. I don't have any relationships. So I don't even know how to connect with people in this way. Unfortunately, she's still in the crisis. Now, I'm just giving you the highlights of this conversation. I also had to challenge some things and remind her of some things, because for a minute, this person was holding her position of right and wrong. Well, I didn't do this because this didn't happen. And how many times we look at the evidence on the outside that determines what we're going to do internally. So I'm giving you the highlights. But in that moment, she had an aha moment and she said, oh my God. She didn't think to ask for help when the issue happened, so that we could put together a game plan. So she wouldn't go into the old conversations of what's wrong with me. She wouldn't go into shutdown. She wouldn't start to isolate, but she did all of that. I had to go in and get her. A lot of coaches won't do that. A lot of counselors won't do that. But I know when a person has a good heart and has sacrificed. For me, it is a relationship. And I was modeling for my client that she was not just a transaction. And that alone broke her all the way down, that she was not just a transaction. I offer this to those of you who are still trying to figure out, is it worth your time to invest in your design? You know what I learned about my ambivertness in doing this type of work, and I saw it in my chart, and I'm going to help you all. You all are going to get a miniature a charting. I'm going to show you how to do some blueprinting of yourself, because the truth is it's already around you. But how do you then position it in the marketplace? How do you have a breakthrough with how you move? One of the ways is you have to move. And let me say this, you don't have to. Let me cancel have to, because have to is something that makes us feel heavy and resistant, and we'll go in the opposite direction. This is an opportunity for you to get ahead of your own learning line. You can stay on the learning line, which drops you down into DIY and figuring it out. Or you can take the investment. See, the investment is not in me, it's in yourself. And this is a small investment that can shift you to get a return on it, not just once, but 10 times over. Why? Because it's happened for me. This is why when you align with people based off of your lack, your greed, and your comparison, you want what they have instead of what is for you. There's a song that says, what God has for me is for me. What God has for me, it is for me. I know without a doubt that he will work it out. That's the spooky part. What God has for me is for me. You got to work it out. You are the work. But we sing spooky songs like that. It makes us feel good. But I love the what God has for me is for me. But do you really believe that? The only way for you to know is to try me, test me, prove me, see won't I pour out. Not me. That's what it says in many of the scriptures that you quote. Right? So I wanted to give you a story time example. And in this client had an opportunity to shift immediately. Ask for help. Get her energy up. Come out of her shell, or make a hard decision that this particular business may not be for me. Because if you're in a business that's causing you pain, you're not aligned. If you don't have any fun, any joy in what you're called to do, you're not aligned. You could be living somebody else's life. I'll tell you one last quick story. I know a doctor who I was working with. Now, she didn't come to me for the entrepreneur, and I didn't have your divine design to offer to her at the time. But what she did have was the rites of passage process that I do for women. And in this process, she had done personality typing. She had done these different things. But the truth that she had not told herself was she never really wanted to be a doctor. She made a decision that was safe. And so she had to face why she made the decision to be a doctor, with now all of these student loans, the family who sacrificed to put her through school, all of the people who had invested in the identity, the archetype that she had created, when in truth, she had another desire, another thing that was running through her. Do you know that in this process of her liberating herself, that she got sick? That doesn't have to be you. The truth is, she had been holding the resentment, the secret in her body. Sometimes that can be the job, sometimes that can be the relationship, and it will come out in the form because there's a mind and body connection. I'll give you one last example in that mind and body connection. When you do archetypes, I'll give you an example just from a Gemini or air sign. That's an archetype. You're going to learn about that and connect it in other ways. I'm a Gemini. Do you know that Gemini energy is or air energy is mutable air energy is so high strung, right? That there are certain things that they should eat and stay away from, and that there are certain things, certain ways that they should work out. For instance, the typical or average Gemini energy should not do high aerobic exercise. And sometimes you know this about yourself. You know why, you know that you're not drawn to something, but the world or the standard is telling you, no, you need to do this. I learned that even as a Gemini, particularly for all of the different positions in my chart, that it's better for me to do Qigong, yoga, because I'm already a type A high energy most of the time. Now that's changing now, honey. Things change when you mature. So that's my third example in my story time of just how oftentimes we just have not been given all of the information. There's been so much that has been left out and shunned, and we've been made afraid to dive into something that's different. And I want to invite you, if you know that you are not only different, but you are the difference in your bloodline, I want to invite you to explore your divine design on April 22nd. I want to invite you to experience this working session. I want to invite you to scratch the surface so that you can have a new conversation with your message to the world, with your marketing, with your relationships. There's going to be a whole segment on communication and coins. And if you are ready to join, the link is in the bio. The link is in the bio. The link is in the description here below. If you have any questions, you can ask me. There will be a VIP session the next day just for business owners. And I want to show you some secrets and some clues that's even more specific than the general session for business owners. Because sometimes we get stuck. And I could tell you so many stories of investments that I have made that ran my energy down versus opening me up, because my divine assignment is bigger than just a business model, a standard business model. I do think that many of us need to understand that there's a difference between our avocation and our vocation. And it's okay if you get your money one way that makes your mind comfortable, particularly if you're an empath in business, a creative in business, an artist in business, if you are an introvert. There's so many layers and nuances that I want to show you that's right in front of you. You were born with the blueprint. And I want to teach you how to dive into it, because one thing about it, one thing for certain and two things for sure, is my blueprint is not yours. My fingerprint is not yours. We can have the same birth date, and the way it's going to show up in the world, depending on the day, the time, and all of that, is going to be different. And what I know for sure is, had I known this about around the same time that I was studying stuff in college, you'll say this too, I probably would not have chosen that or this or the other. Okay. And I wouldn't have beat myself up as well. So This is my invitation to you. I hope that story time gives you an idea of connecting the dots. There are some of you who are designed to be generative in your energy, and you need to express in a certain way. Some of you need a team. Okay. It's a way to cook it all in the recipe, and I hope that we can put a recipe together for you. So join me on April 22nd. I love you, and there's nothing you can do about it. It's been my honor to just share a little story time with you today, because she's got goals, honey. She's got goals. That's you. You've got goals. You've got goals. You have God in you, as you, and through you, and the growth is calling you now in this season. We're in growing season in this 7 vibrational year. This is a growing season. I don't know about you, but I tell you, it's been a learning season, a deeper dive, a call, an inner something big is happening on the inside, and we're going to see the seeds that we're planting in ourselves grow good fruit coming into 2024, because that's going to be an 8-year. So we'll talk about more of that later. See, even the year has archetypes, and now we're getting ready to go into a little bit of a Mercury retrograde. So I'm going to throw a little bit of that into the workshop for you to understand, so you won't retrograde, because normally during the Taurus energy season, you programming your money for the rest of the year. Did anybody teach you that? Just like I cut my hair in a certain time. My grandmother used to say, baby, don't cut your hair in this month and that month, because it won't grow right. I want you to grow right. I love you, y'all. I'll talk to you all. So, listen, let me catch some of your comments. How did I do with that song, right? Yes, girl, if I can understand and making shit hard, right? Overthinking and all of that. I'm with you. I'm with you. You ain't by yourself. I love confessions, honey. And when you do it in the open and in public, guess what? You freed yourself. Chantel says, I gotta look this week. No, because people don't know you for real, nor do they want to. The thing is to look beyond the norm. Yes, absolutely. All right, I'm gonna capture a couple more before we get out here. I didn't want to just be me talking, because yes, you can feel this learning and growth season. That's the 7 year. You either do it by choice or you do it by force. So the 7 vibrational year is inviting us all to go in so that we can see it manifested out. And particularly when we're going into this thing with this banking and this money, all of us are going to need to lean in differently. Oh, wow. Thank you, just Sarah. I love you so much. You said each week this gets better and gooder. All right. Dr. Kim says serial student, 5 degrees and counting. Okay, Dr. Kim. I'm definitely an overthinker. Okay. I think I captured most of them. Oh, look at we got Dr. Carol Overton in the house, Pastor Carol. And so listen, come on in the room. Come on in the room. Come on in the room. I'm gonna show you some of the stuff that you probably didn't recognize was right in front of your face. Yep. I feel like sometimes I'm playing catch up, but it's not that. I'm going to show you why. I can't wait to have this conversation with you all on the 22nd. Get in early, y'all, so that you can get the reading and so that you can get the reading for the data that we're going to go through, so you'll follow along. If you wait until 24 hours before and 48 hours before to sign up, there's no guarantee you're going to get that extra bonus. So I love you. There's nothing you can do about it. I'll see you on the other side. I'm looking forward to having you. Ciao, everyone.